Alright, y'all, we about to do on this Chevy Sonic, we about to do the rear brake drum. It's the same for both sides. I'll show the one side, so let's get started. Alright guys, so first step one, what I do is while the car is on the ground, I loosen these lugs up just enough. I don't take them out, just loosen them, break them, so that once I jack the car up and the wheel's spinning, I still can get them off. And, sorry. This is a size 19 millimeter. All right, after that, guys, I'll be jacking the car up. Now, when I jack these cars up, I usually hit it from right there. Mine's a bit rusty, but I usually jack it right there. I get it right there with the jack stand and jack her up. All right, y'all. Second, what I'll do is I'll simply use a secondary, like redundant way to hold the car up. So right now I got the jack. Again, jack is up there. I'm gonna come grab this guy and put him right next to him. There you go. Just like that. Alright. Good to go. Alright, y'all. Now I got her jacked up. Next step that I'll be doing is taking off the wheel. So, again, these are already hand tightened, or rather, they're already loose. So I can put my simple low torque wrench and take them off. Alright, y'all. Now that I got them already loosened, I can put this guy on them, spin them right off. Alright. And now that's off, what I usually typically do now is put the wheel underneath the car in case it falls off these stands, it'll fall on the tire. Alright, next step, y'all, is to take off this star bolt here. This is a T30. Now, quick tip, this might be absolutely rusted, so a few things you can do. Mine wasn't, because I've replaced these rotors in the past 3 years, but you can take a screwdriver, put it between the lugs here, and then put a wrench on that and loosen it up. If you don't have a screwdriver, you can use a breaker bar or anything between the threads here. Just be a little mindful of the threads. You don't want to damage the threads either. So generally something that's round, something that can kind of distribute the force on it is pretty good. All right, next step, you got to take this off. So what I generally do is I'll bring in a hammer, I'll hit around it, and after I hit around it, I'll grab like a flat. Now you don't want to really do, you want to be careful because the back of this is fragile, especially if it's rusted. So what I generally do is I put a screwdriver in there and I'll kind of turn the screwdriver just to see if it can break loose. Luckily, I hit the lottery here and this one was able to do it. So once that comes off, you just kind of can wiggle this off, and I got one hand so I can't really show it. All right, y'all, once y'all get all that off, you can kind of see what's going on in here. It's a bit busy, but next step is to actually take this spring off. Again, be cautious. This stuff is under tension, so when you take this off, it can spring out and hit you. So definitely wear eye protection, wear eyewear. If you can, wear gloves, because this stuff's got brake dust. It's got some bad chemicals you don't want to be touching like I am right now. All right, y'all, next, what I generally do is, they got tools for all this, but guess what? This tool cost me about $3 from AutoZone's, a little cheap guy, inexpensive. So what I do is I'll get a pair of grips on that little spring there. We recycling all the, we aren't recycling. These are getting all new. So I'll put that on there, and then I'll pull this guy in this direction. I wish I could try to show what I can't. I gotta use both two hands here, but I'll pull this guy out. You can kind of see in there, he'll come out this little slit, and I'll pull him out, and from there, that'll be releasing the top of these brakes. All right, guys, so again, I simply pulled this guy out with the grips. It took two hands because I got to push against this to keep it from going in, and I pull this out around from this little gauge. From there, this should just come straight out. Most time just comes straight out. And again, we aren't recycling these. So I should be fine. Also worth noting, take a mental image at this point. Guys, take a mental image of what this stuff looks like, because this is, drum brakes are, you know, the first time tackling this, I can tell you right now, the first time tackling a set of drum brakes took me at least an hour, you know, to figure this stuff out. So take a mental image, take pictures at this point, right? Take pictures of what this looked like, you know, especially for people like me that are graphical learners. Take a mental image and see what it looks like. So when you go to put this all back together, won't be that challenging. And what I generally do, guys, is as I'm taking the stuff out, I'll put it on the ground just how it was. So just notice this little spring here. I mean, even though I know where this stuff goes, this little spring here was in here like that. Guess what? It goes right on the ground, just like that. All right. All right, guys, I think I can get this on video because this isn't heavy stuff. So next thing though, I'm taking this little clip out. This goes against this little barrel adjuster here. You see this thing, barrels adjust that. I don't think it's done barrel adjust because it might be maxed out. But this guy goes against that barrel adjuster. And what happens is when this engages, it pushes that barrel adjuster, which activates this screw, which screws this and pushes this out. So as the brake wears down, this starts pushing out. So again, very clever mechanical design here. Amazing stuff. But anyways, I will go and take this guy out. Try to get on camera with one hand. It's a bit hard. I'm looking through the camera at the same time. Jeez. All right, guys. I might have to put the camera down. Okay, got it out. I'll cut that guy out, and guess what? It goes right on the ground like that. Next step, I'll push these. At this point, these guys can start spacing out some. You can probably get this, I think this might be called the barrel adjuster. Get this whole unit out. If you can't, but I noticed you can screw this. Let me see if it'll allow me. Here we go. Try to get this guy out. Alrighty, I was able to get that out. So listen, guys, it came apart, but that's normal. I'm gonna put that down right there. Take this out. Boom. Right there. Again, I'm putting it right how it came out. Notice I'm also putting that keyed section back in there. So see, it's keyed. You can kind of know if you can see that. It's keyed, but I'm putting that right back in there like that. And I'm putting it right on the ground, and I'm keeping track of where things are. Again, mental pictures, because everything matters here. Like from the whole e-brake side, you know, it has a special little lever here, it's a special lever here that connects to the bottom of the e-brake right here. So again, mental image is good here. All right, next step, guys. This is actually, I would argue this is one of the harder steps. These guys right here, that and that guy right there. They are a nightmare to get out. What I generally do is, how do I get these guys out? There's a few ways. The biggest way, the simplest way, is I take a pair of grips. This is not the greatest. I take a pair of grips and get in an angle. I'll lightly squeeze this guy and push in and turn. Now I'll show you. Now these are keyed. I don't know if you see it in there. It's keyed. So to take it out, you gotta turn either the screw or that little key thing that's going through it, or this little washer. You gotta turn either one. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna turn this little washer guy, end cap thing. So what I do is I stick a pair of grips, because you can see that this guy is flat on the top and bottom. I'll put a pair of grips on them lightly because it's thin metal. You don't want to bend it. I'll put a pair of grips and turn it. And I know for a fact I can't get that on camera, but I can at least show you the steps to do it. All right, for all my grip folks out there that repair things with grips, you know what I'm talking about. I grab this until it just bites, till it just bites, not tight. See that? I got on there. I didn't bend anything. You can kind of see it's not bent. Now what I'm gonna do is, I wish I can get a camera. I'm gonna push in and turn, while also putting my hand on the back here and holding this guy. See there? Holding that guy, pushing it forward while pushing this one in, and it will come right out. All right, guys, I really wish I can get that on camera, but what I did was I simply took this guy's key, pushed it in, and turned it right out, and boom, it comes right off. You can see the key part there. What I'll do is I'll set it on the ground once again and take this guy out. In fact, I'll leave it in for now. I'll leave it in to hold it up, and I'll get to this side next and do the same. All right, guys, again, got that guy on out. Now is the step where I'll pull these pins out the back. So me pulling these pins out, let's get a better view. Pull these pins out, I'll drop each side. I mean, you know, you can try to keep everything symmetric and matched up. But nevertheless, let's get this in there. There we go. And boom, look at that. Falls right out. Fall off the bone already. And next I'll be just replacing these shoes. Now real quick, guys, as I do this, again, what I generally do is, look at that. So came right out. Now this guy right here, this edge goes to the e-brake. See that? Goes right into there. Alrighty, that's what this little edge right there goes into. Note the direction of this spring. So this spring, which is rusty, pointed towards me. So you see that? It points towards me. Now, I got the brakes off. Everything's good here. At this point, you want to do several things. Number one, put those down. You want to check this hub to see whether you got any play. I'm almost sure this got play because this car has 200 and something thousand miles. All right, not too much. Actually, none at all. Other side's worse. Number two, you want to make sure that you don't press your brake. Do not press your brake at this point, because this guy will come squirting right out. See those pistons in there? They'll come squirting right out. There's nothing, no resistance is going to prevent it from going outward now that the shoes are off. So make sure you never press your brake. The other thing worth noting here, at this point, you might want to hit all this with some brake clean and sand it down and clean it off. Up to you. You can do as you need it. You know, get it all in here and clean up. Add some grease where metal to metal. You know, do what you need to do. But long story short, we'll be doing the rear assembly process next. Alright, guys, next what I generally do is I'll get like a brass brush or something like that, and I will come and try to get some of this old stuff off, because what happens is, you know, it's good and bad. You know, this stuff, it just flakes off, and then guess what? It'll get right in your brake, and guess where it stays? Right there in the drum. It has nowhere to escape most times. Sometimes it gets out, but most times this stuff will break off and get in there and just get out. You know, just save yourself the hassle and just get it out while you got this all off. All right, y'all. In addition, sometimes I will go a step further and check the condition. Newer cars generally don't have this; they're usually electronic. But I usually check the condition of the e-brake line. Make sure it's not rusted. You know, this is galvanized most times, so it's gotten, you know, it's pretty resilient against the weather. But I'll check all that. I'll check all this hardware, especially with my cars, because I drop stick. So this is my secondary source of braking / parking brakes. I don't always make sure this stuff is looking good and greased up and, you know, properly working. So all right, next, y'all, first thing I'll do is I'll set this aside and I'll just put the bottom spring in there. I'm going to be recycling. I got a brand new brake hardware kit in the box here. I don't think I'm cheap. Got it in the box right here. But what I'll actually be doing is, because I just replaced this hardware not too long ago, and I just, with the price of things going up and everything like that, it's insane. But anyways, I'm putting old brake hardware. That's just me, guys. Definitely don't follow my steps. Definitely make sure you replace all your brake hardware. But in either way, imagine this spring is new. What the first thing I'll do is I'll set that spring in there like that. Again, make sure you take a mental image what it looked like before. This guy right here is the parking brake lever that goes into the bottom that I showed you earlier. Right back here, this guy. So, nevertheless, what I'll generally do is I'll start putting this all together. I can't really get the actual step because I got one hand, but generally that's what I'll do. I'll show you what it looks like once it's all installed first. All right, next step, y'all. Once that's in there, so again, usually put that spring, usually line these little two edges right into this little container, into this little holder right here. I wish I had a set of old brakes to show you, but you can kind of see sort of right here. So these little edges, you can kind of see where the wear mark is at. See that little brown part? Because it's been rubbing. That section is what goes right against this guy right here. And once you get that in there, what I generally do is I'll put that on first, and then I'll park these right against the edge here to hold them in there while I start getting to the next step. All right, y'all, next step. So, like I said, that hardware is on the ground. If you did it correctly, this hardware be in the same order that you took it off in. So, nevertheless, I can tell you, first step is we'll be putting these pins in. So, again, these are hard to get out. So, these are always the hardest to put back in. What I generally do is I'll go and put these guys in through the back. Try to get it in there. Again, there's a hole, and it goes in. And then after that, I'll put this through the hole. See if I can get it. Might gotta take the camera out. Let's see. Alright, guys, not looking too good. I'm gonna have to take the camera. There you go, just as I said it. I'll put that, stick it through there. I'll do the same for the other side. So I'll come in here, try to switch hands here. I'll come here and let's see if I can funnel it in. This side might be a little challenging, but I'll get it right through that hole in a moment. I'll show you what the next step is after that. All right, y'all, once that's in there like that, what I'll generally do now is take one side at a time. It's the hardest part. Arguably, again, imagine this is new hardware, but I'll put these springs on, and again, I'll use my lucky pair of grips. I'll grip this guy right on the keyed side, so where it's flat, and I'll push the grip on while pushing this back, and I'll turn it, and that'll get me. And sometimes I can only get a quarter turn at first, and I'll take the grips off and I'll put it back on and force it to rest. I've seen some folks do this by hand. I've done it a handful of times.
Yeah, we can start the
by hand, but again, by the time I get to the second one, my hand's kind of weak. But you can certainly do this by hand, especially if you got new hardware sometimes. But for now, I'll be using grips. All right, y'all, got that guy on there. So again, he's a little beat up, but it will suffice. I'm gonna put it back on there so it's perfect. So you want this? It's not a good example. So let me do something right fast. You want this guy to be just about perpendicular to, there you go, you want these guys to be almost just about perpendicular. See, if the slot goes this way, see the gap, it goes that way, and you want this guy to go perpendicular to that. So when it's like that, that's when you can almost guarantee it's going to stay in there. Now again, guys, ignore me. You want to have new hardware. I want to emphasize that. New brake hardware. You want to use it. Don't do what I'm doing. But yeah, anyways, again, what I did was put the grips like that. Pushed in. Zoom out. Had the grips like that. Pushed it in and turned it. And again, might take a little, again, they got tools for this, but I don't buy those little tools. I use grips. But yeah, once you get that on there, it might take a few tries. Shoot, it might take you an hour like I did my first time, but eventually you'll get there. You might go through a few packs of hardware too, but you'll get there. All right, y'all. This one was slightly harder, but we got it in there. So next, once that's in there, what I'll start doing is sizing this thing up. So I'll start, you look here, I push these things in as close as possible. Second, make sure, again, reminder, e-brake is inside of this little lever here at the bottom. Last but not least, make sure the e-brake is off. Okay, make sure the e-brake is not on. So next, what I'll be doing is now putting this hardware back in. So unfortunately, mine's got a little mixed up, but first step will be the adjuster. The adjuster goes in first, and now pretty much you'll see here there's a few slots. So real quick, talk about these slots for a moment. This larger slot, you can kind of see the larger one there, that larger one, the bottom one rather, that goes against this right here. And the indentation at the top goes for the black in the back. All right. Likewise, in the front, the thick slot, the thicker one, goes for the actual shoe. This secondary one right there, the smaller one, is what this thing slides into. So again, I'll show what that looks like once I'm done, but that's pretty much what it does. Real quick reminder, y'all, this brake adjuster, 9 times out of 10, if you like me, you wait to the last minute, change your brakes, bring this in the light. This guy, you can see the threads. Why? Because it adjusted and screwed out. What you got to do is you got to screw this guy back in by turning this guy right here. I can't do it because I got one hand, but I'll show you once you have it fully, I'll say to its rest position. That's when you want to install it. So real quick, step by step. So what I'll do is I'll try to do this one hand. What I do is I don't go through the top. I go through the side here. I try to get it from the side. I go through the side like that. Again, thick side in there. Goes against there. Boom. This side, you kind of, this is where it gets a little tricky. I got it fully in, so you got no more threads. What I got to do is, first off, what I got to do is I got to pull this guy out just a tad bit. See that? Pull him out and boom, put him back like that. There you go. So there you go. Now you can see the brake adjusters in there. Next, I'll be installing these hardware at the bottom. Alright guys, I try to do this by, again, one hand. So I'm trying to get this guy in there, but you simply bring this guy up like that. And let me see if I can get it. One hand there. Oh, I'm pretty good. Alrighty, and once you get that guy in there, I'm gonna put this back to that key position. Put that in like that. Let's see. Try to get the camera. Alright, there we go. Boom. So now he's happy. There you go. He's happy in there like that. And once I attach the spring, he'll be attached to that. So when I put the spring, the next thing is this last spring. Alright guys, the spring, again, the little hook side goes right into that little hole in the back over here. I can't do it with one hand. I know I can't. See, oh, I did it. Alright. That goes there. And then the other side, you pull. You want to get a pair of grips like I do. Grab the edge of it. You're going to put it right in there. Right in that little slot. And I'm pointing right there. Alright, y'all. All done up. You can see in there, everything's back to what it was. Last step that I do is, before I size it up to go in the actual drum, is I actually hit this guy with some brake clean. So Brake Clean University. Get it all in there. Again, by the way, generally you can also clean the parts before you install them, but here I am lazy. This is my own personal car, guys. This is so. I wouldn't be doing this to a customer's car. This is mine. I risk my own life. All right, y'all. At this point, it gets a little bit challenging, but at this side, what you want to do is you want to get the rotor to clear. I don't know why these Sonics always have a tight fit, but you want to get the rotor to clear like I have gotten it just now. And then from there, what I generally do is I'll check the back for clearance of the actual drum. So you kind of see there's not much space in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a flathead and push simultaneously while I'm pushing it in, just to, because it's a very tight fit. And I've went down the rabbit hole of measuring diameters of these rotors and brakes, and it seems like, you know, either they're selling multiple compatible, versa compatible shoes with different cars or something, but it's never a great fit. It's always a bit tight to get these things on, at least for me. All right, real quick, guys. I took this all back apart because, and I keyed this, saw the angle grind just a little further out, because these particular shoes, it doesn't have much play, but these particular shoes, this thing did not have enough give to allow this to go in further enough so I can get this drum on. So I had to take it apart, drill that out a little more. You kind of see it's like a little beveled edge now, and hopefully that'll work. All right, real quick, guys, that did it. Alrighty, so that little extra give, that little extra bevel, gave it enough to just go in. So now you can kind of see, I'll get it further on, but I was able to clear the back here. Just very tight fit, very, very tight fit. Sometimes you gotta do it. You know, they build these parts to be compatible with multiple vehicles across, you know, multiple different brands and everything. So it's never a direct fit, it's a near direct fit or, you know, approximate fit. But nevertheless, we can get this guy buttoned back up now. All right, there you go. He went back on nice and easy. Next, last step here, we'll put that screw back in and make sure it's properly aligned. All right, guys, I got that screw in. Again, I don't tighten it extremely tight, but just tight enough that it's able to seat this guy and get it back flat. And the last check I do is, of course, it should be able to turn this by hand. Not exactly, it won't be easy, but, you know, I should be able to turn it at least somewhat by hand. You know, it shouldn't be completely locked, which means, and assuming the e-brake is off. So anyways, we should be good to go, y'all. I'll be putting the wheel back on and call it a day. All right, she's all buttoned up. From here on, you pretty much should know the steps. Tighten it up in the star pattern, cross pattern rather, and then drag the car back down. Alrighty, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.